Welcome everyone. Welcome to Tech Talk Friday. And as always, Karam and I will be here to talk technology. Welcome to the show and hope that this is going to be another fun Friday. I'm going to invite Karamjit Singh. Karamjit Singh, welcome to the show. And Karam, wake up. Karam, you here?
Yes,
Karam?
yes, I'm here.
There you go. I think he was meditating that point. He was telling me he's in awe of our next guest that we have today. Right, Karam? So we've got a fantastic guest today. And Karam, you want to do the quick introductions to our special guest that we have today?
Yeah, I think so. Khairil is actually the first non-entrepreneur we have on the show, but I find it interesting because I asked him the last time actually. So by the way, all of you who are listening in, this is all unscripted. So Khairil doesn't know what I'm saying also. Okay, so it's not like preempted him or whatever. So Khairil is the first non-entrepreneur, but I find it interesting because he is actually running Boost and Axiata Digital Services. He leads that also, like an entrepreneur. A small stake in the business also as you move forward. And I'll let him answer that. So you can decide, you can let him answer that. So I found that kind of interesting that he actually is running it like an entrepreneur. And although you've got the security and the safety of an Axiata, right? It's one of the largest telcos in Asia. And you've got that comfort zone also, although there's that huge responsibility also. But as an entrepreneur, then you're not living on the edge because you're not worried about cash flow, right, Roshan? And you're not worried that suddenly something will go bad, dramatically bad, a big deal.
Like we have to do, right?
Yeah, exactly. So he doesn't have that, but also I think I want to mention that Khairil also took a big pay cut to come and join the Axiata group. So although Axiata pays well, he was doing super duper well in Singapore with one of the world's largest or most important, not largest, not important, but one of the world's best known consulting companies. And he took a pay cut to join Axiata. So, in a way that he's feeling the entrepreneur pain, right? You've got that
pay cut.
It's interesting also. We bring him on, talk about it, and I want to share the real reason why I brought him onto the show. So let's get him on board.
Okay. All right, Khairil, welcome to the show. Khairil, great to have you here. So CEO of Boost and also Axiata Digital.
Yeah.
So Khairil, I think before Karam, steals the show and starts asking you some penetrating questions about Boost and your fundraising and other things that are happening. Just quickly tell us a bit about yourself and how tell us a bit about Khairil the man. I'd like to get to know you a little bit.
Yeah. So I think Karam did a little bit of introduction earlier on. I did spend many years in a consulting firm. I spent 16 years with Bain & Company, 15 and a half years with Bain & Company. It's a well-known strategy consulting firm. I was with Bain and principally out of the Singapore office, but worked in many different markets as well. One of those markets I worked in was in Silicon Valley in San Francisco in the late 90s. And that was a little bit kind of where a lot of the bug around tech was caught. And as a result of that, when I came back to the region, I started shifting towards the tech and telco practice and pretty much spent a bulk of my time towards the later years at Bain as a partner within the tech and telco practice. I joined Axiata in 2012. It was also a means for me to come back to Malaysia. So by the time I came back to and joined Axiata, I'd actually been away for about 23 years. Wow. So it was nice to come home. I missed the nasi lemak and the roti and what have you, right?
Chapati.
Back a lot of weight after I came back. But I think Karam was right. I won't go into the details, but yes, I did take a pretty massive pay cut to join Axiata. But I felt like it was kind of a right platform to do a little bit of what I wanted to do, right? And what I wanted to do was, to some extent, when I started coming back to the country, I saw a lot of very young, very talented people, very ambitious people, very eager to kind of make change. And I felt like perhaps there are certain things that I have accumulated in terms of experience that could help them grow. And Axiata created that platform because they had this thing called the Young Talents Program. They were, at that stage, they had committed to spending about 100 million ringgit to invest in grooming talent. And I felt that was a great platform for me to come in. Obviously, it's a tech and telco company, so it was kind of a slam dunk for me to sort of join the organization.
And talk to us a little bit about Boost. I mean, you were in Axiata Digital, and then you're also leading Boost, and Boost has grown significantly over the last couple of years, right? Very quickly, a very accelerated growth. What's driving that? I mean, what's maybe maybe I know there's many factors to it, but what do you think are one or two key factors that's driving the growth?
Yeah, so the story around the Boost growth, and Boost, by the way, we just celebrated our 3rd anniversary on the 7th of October. So we did 3. So it's actually a relatively young company, but
1,000 days old.
Sorry, 1,000 days.
1,000 days old. 3 years.
1,000 days. Wow, incredible. Okay.
Yeah. But the story around that growth actually started probably about 6 years ago, right? So I think maybe kind of to take a step back, I think Axiata Digital realized that within the Axiata group, there are a lot of assets that we as a telco have that can be leveraged to create new kind of business opportunities, new businesses altogether in the tech and digital space. And financial services was one of them. And when you combine the fact that when you look at how well served consumers are in financial services, we immediately realized that actually we can bring technology to kind of really unlock a whole bunch of consumers that hitherto were relatively underserved. So we started kind of a journey where we were creating this a starting point of a payment company, a micro payment company, to basically engage the customers, to bring the customers on board, and then thereafter start selling them and upselling them with different types of financial services. It has grown phenomenally. I mean, we launched 3 years ago, and then to date we have close to 9 million registered users. Monthly actives are looking very, very good. We have a very engaged and active user base, in the sense that on average each one of our users is spending about 350 ringgit. Our active users are spending about 350 ringgit per week on our wallet, right? So we feel like we have a cohort of consumers that we really kind of want to continue to engage in a very deep way. Our merchant base grew from a standing start to about 200,000 right now. The one thing I would add about our merchant base is probably 100,000, 120,000 of those are what we would call the mom and pops, right? The MSMEs, micro SMEs. These are the ones where, if you go back to the genesis of Boost, these were the ones that we felt were really not very well served by the official banking system. And so we wanted to kind of create a platform to actually serve them, right? So very, very excited that we have managed to acquire kind of about 120,000 of those into our portfolio.
So it feels like, I was, so the reason, it's good that you get a high level view. So the reason why I wanted to have you on the show also, Khairil, is, look, HSBC just came out with a new report. You may already have it. They're calling it the digital wallet. Yeah, sorry?
We lost for a minute there, Carl.
Oh, yeah. Sorry. Okay. I think I'm on a 500 meg line, but I think there's a packet loss. Sorry. So I'll repeat that. So there's this new report by HSBC Bank, and they said that the e-wallet market in Southeast Asia in 2013 is going to be worth $1.5 trillion. And just like blew me away. I say, wow, 1.5 trillion in 10 years from now. And even more interesting, Khairil, they said that it looks like the leaders will come from this cluster of telco-based, wallet players. That's you guys. Philippines also has one, and then bank-based players, and they actually mentioned DBS Bank with their Paylah, and then of course then the e-commerce players, which is Southeast Asia Group, right? And then you've got and also under that they put our friends Grab and also Gojek. So from this.
Yep, we keep losing Karam.
It's an incredible piece of the pie that you are going after, and especially because you said you already have a presence in Indonesia, so you're smack in the middle of this incredible opportunity. And I wanted to ask you about, because when we spoke recently, you also spoke about Indonesia, Malaysia. There's still upside. Do you kind of agree with? And you probably got a Bain report also, right? Since you're buddies with them about the size of the market. So talk to us about, is the market really that incredible? And by the way, they underpin the market. They say this is the underbanked in this region who are going to come on by the droves, right, and start using e-wallets, because you leapfrog credit cards, you leapfrog debit cards, and go straight to your platform. So I say, wow, this is an incredible opportunity, man.
Yeah, look, I think I haven't looked at the report, and I probably should go pick it up and have a look
I'll
at it.
send you the thing after this. No worries.
Please do. I think, but I'm not surprised that there is that size of an opportunity out there, and then largely it's because if you look at it, the biggest competition that we have is still cash, right? And up until recently, cash was still a predominant component of all transactions in our markets, right? Especially when you start going out to sort of the micro SMEs, right? In a number of the conversations that I have with, if you like, kind of the Char Kway Teow guy in SS2 and what have you, their transaction by and large, despite the fact that we've been pushing and pushing and pushing, 95% of the transaction is still cash, right? Now, I say up until now because I think COVID has changed that situation very, very drastically. With COVID, I think there is a belief that if you transact with cash, there is a chance that you might be kind of moving viruses around. And so, to the extent that I can stand 6 feet away and scan a QR code, not have that contact with the person that I'm actually transacting with, that creates a little bit of a comfort and security for me, right? So I think that will become an acceleration. And it will leapfrog sort of the cards to a certain extent, because the cards, you sometimes need to pass the card to the other person has to take the card, slot it into the machine. Yeah. Yes, there is the NFC tab. I don't know how quickly that's going to grow, right? But this is simple because this is on the phone. There is a very simple static QR that you can print out for the merchant. That transaction and that whole sort of process can take place very, very quickly, right? So I do believe that growth is going to come, and it's going to come very incredibly, right? I mean, if I look at what happened during the MCO, post the MCO, and then actually kind of now going into CMCO in some of our markets again, right? So obviously when MCO kicked in, literally within the first week of MCO, we saw, if you like, in our offline transactions, 60% reduction in volume. Like 60%.
Wow, boom.
It just kind of nosedived. So that was March. April was a horrible month for us. But by May, it was back to a record, right? So we were resetting again in May. Of course, June was another record, and then July, a record over May. August, because of the ePenjana programs, it just kind of again, right? And so in that sense, then I think people are starting to accept this as a very credible, legitimate, and actually a very safe way of making transactions.
Okay. So let us put Roshan on the spot first. Hold on, Roshan.
Yeah, wait, Karam. Okay, so Karam, we lost him, but while Karam is pointing fingers at somebody, Param, you're getting in. Right?
No, I'm saying, are you using an e-wallet? I'm putting you.
Yes, I am. Yes, I am. I'm using a few lah. I'm one of those learning from Sashi. He says use a few and get the best deal out of everyone. But I think many people. Wahab asked a question, and I think part of it is maybe a misperception of what Boost is doing. So his question is, Boost dealing with fintech mainly? Maybe for our viewers especially because many viewers from outside of Malaysia. Can you just in a maybe 20 seconds summarize what exactly does Boost do? What's your business?
Well, so at the core of it, Boost is a payment platform, right? It is not different from, say, a WeChat Pay or a Grab. It is a payment platform that you can do sort of e-wallet transactions with merchants. It is QR based for the most parts, but there are other forms of payments that we will accept as well. But to say that Boost is just in the fintech space is probably not true because of how we've observed our customers, right? So, I mentioned the number of customers that we have and the active base that we have. But what's very interesting about it is that we actually have 4 times more people that actually come into our app, spend a very long time on our app, browsing, searching, looking for things to transact on. Sometimes they don't transact because they don't have anything to do, and then they go up. But we have 4 times more users that's actually coming in and browsing on our app, right? So we tend to kind of want to think about ourselves as, if you like, an app, a sort of almost like an all-in-one app to provide digital lifestyle for both consumers and merchants alike. Yes, we tend to monetize via financial services, via payments, but there are other things that you can actually do in our app as well. And some of that actually has nothing to do with financial transactions.
Okay.
And so
go ahead, Richard.
I'm curious because I know that many of the e-wallets like you guys, the path to profitability looks rather hazy, or it's not very clear, right? I mean, in your mind, and I know transactions seem to be great, but essentially there's a significant cost to each of these transactions, right? What is your, in your case, what are you looking as your path to profitability? And is that clarity there in terms of where you're getting to, or it's just about building the user base at this point in time and then figuring it out as you go along?
Yeah. So I think the tuition we paid on that kind of 3 years prior, right, before we launched. We used to run e-commerce companies, and yes, there's this massive acquisition binge that e-commerce companies will go through, and especially in e-commerce, it's a little bit kind of the winner takes all syndrome, right? So if you look at the market right now, it's really just down to Shopee and Lazada, and I know that there are other players out there. I think those players will hopefully create some niche for some of them out there.
Yeah.
But in terms of major marketplaces, it's actually going to be Lazada and Shopee, and the others will probably struggle to kind of create that sort of presence, right? So we learned that lesson. For us, we started with a view of how do we generate positive unit economics, right? We're not looking to make a ton of money in the payment business because we feel like the payment side is actually a means to an end. The end is an overall ecosystem play around financial services that we are going to monetize via different methods, whether it's a loan that we will sell you, or an insurance program that we will sell you, or maybe kind of acquisition of users for other forms of financial services products that we will do with the base that we have. But the payment itself, we started with a view that we're not going to make a lot of money out of it, but we want to make sure that we don't burn a huge hole once we get a scalable level in terms of the user base that we have, right? So we're always looking at whether this is going to generate positive unit economics, and the inflection point is coming very, very soon.
Okay.
Wow.
Okay.
Very, very soon. So my question is, Khairil, you say you got 4 times more users, so you've got almost about 9 million users. So when you say 4 times more, is it like in a month you've got like 9 times 4? A number 48 million people, coming into onto your app every month, or do I have the numbers wrong?
Yeah, no, yes. Let me just kind of clarify that a little bit. What I meant by that is out of our active transacting base, right, on a 30-day basis, on the monthly basis and whatnot, we have 4 times more that come in and don't necessarily transact. They will browse, they will shop, they will look for offers, and then they may actually go do that transaction offline, and it may have nothing to do with us at all. What I'm saying is that there are actually sort of 4 times more. So we're starting to measure not just the transacting users, but also the unique visitors to our app. The unique visitors, as I said, is 4 times higher than our active user base, our transacting user base.
Or transacting. So would you be able to share what is your acting transaction base every month?
So let me share with you. I mean, we don't normally share our our monthly figures and whatnot, right? But let me share with you sort of a recent sort of 7-day average, and 7-day. 7-day was kind of a benchmark that we had, and this might have been skewed a little bit higher because of the some of the campaigns that we were running, right? But on a 7-day basis, we were looking at about 1 million transacting users, right? So and you can imagine that there were probably on a month you had 4 times more people kind of coming in to the app, sort of browsing and not actually kind of doing anything within that. Right?
Yeah. Hey, we're gonna take a break, but before that, I got a quick question from Vinayak, who asked, Is cashless the future of Southeast Asia? As many people prefer cash payments currently. I think the bigger question is, I'm assuming the gamble here is that it will be a cashless future, right? I mean, ultimately,
it's not a gamble, man. I send you the HSBC report. The path is paved in gold. Gold.
So so I mean, Khairil, you have any things to add to the?
This was an interview that Karam did of me last year, right? And I think I may have said something like, within 5 years, cash will be down to 50% of all transactions.
Oh yeah,
right?
yes.
I would say that actually COVID accelerated all of that. Whether it's going to be e-wallets, don't know, right? I mean, there are so many different form factors of cashless payments, right? Debit card, credit cards, online banking is a form of cashless transaction as well, because you buy e-commerce, do online banking versus cash on delivery when the guy sends and you pay in cash. So there are many different forms, but I would say that actually cash will very, very rapidly disappear. I wouldn't be surprised, I haven't read the HSBC report yet, but by 2020, cash might disappear.
Wow. Exciting, man. Scary, exciting at the same time.
I mean, if you look at China, it's pretty much moving that way, right? Cash is disappearing, everything from begging to all kinds of transactions is going cashless, right? So
Yeah.
it is. I mean, it's almost like cars and horses, right? At some point in time, it'll be the cool thing to have cash, but it's generally not going to be the one that's being used across the board. So I would tend to agree. Okay, we're going to take a quick short break, and of course, Nicole, our sponsor, has a short little video for us. So today it's on the entire Leaderonomics digital platform. So hang in there and let's watch a little Nicoling and Lead. All right, welcome back to Tech Talk. And just for those of you who are keen for today, I'm supposed to say there's a special. We're all competing to see who can sell more. So to buy Nicole today, go to nicole.app, and use this code RoshanTLead30. You get a 30% discount, and I get ranked higher on the leaderboard. So that's a plug-in for me. And if you want to help me out here, guys. All right, back to the show. And Khairil, Karam, you wanted to zoom in a little bit more on Boost and some of the stuff that's happening down and now, right?
Just because, I think, Khairil, one of the interesting things was that, if the market size is going to be 1.5 trillion 10 years from now, according to the HSBC report, about 66% of the market is going to be consumer rather than business. So it's a huge consumer drive, and businesses are going to be 35% back in 2030. So when you see this ratio, is that something that you see your data is already telling you that's what's happening? And actually, in a way, maybe the ratio doesn't matter. No matter what, you're already a player and you can capture opportunity on either side.
Yeah, and I think we want to do both, right? Because if you look at what a lot of the wallet players right now are focused on, they're actually focused on solving the pain points on the consumer side. Credit cards and whatnot, you're largely focused on sort of, again, solving for cashless transactions on the consumer side. But there are also needs, especially with the lower tier merchant base, that actually have suppliers to pay. They have billers to pay. They have payroll to kind of do. And I don't think there's enough emphasis on that particular segment yet. Again, the sort of the MDRs, if you like, on this particular segment is very low. You don't really make that much money of it. And it's actually an ecosystem that we would definitely want to build, because there are other ways that we can monetize around that, right? And so that's why we're putting a lot of emphasis around it, right? In this current period, it's actually a very desperate time for them, especially for the offline guys who, because of the CMCO, have to shut their operations, right? So we've seen in the last 6 months, it's been really, really tough for this segment, the sister company, to boost part of the Axiata digital portfolio, where we're essentially providing loans, right, for as little as 500 ringgit if you need to kind of tie you over on certain things. We might link that loan to a COVID-19 microinsurance package, again, all with a view to protecting the micro SME owner proprietor, right? And we can do that because we have the technology to be able to support it.
It's fantastic. Yeah, it's really good. And I think you didn't mention there's the 6-month moratorium also, right? If people take that loan, So
no payments, nothing for the next 6 months, right? And in fact, actually, we did launch a new program on the 5th of October, and we're working with different government ministries around it, where we're bringing a whole different suite of products and services to the SMEs, such that they can become digital, right? Because especially when in a period like a CMCO, right, does that mean that their trade have to wind down to a grinding halt, right? And that's not great. So we're trying to create different ways such that they can continue to trade, continue to sell their products. We link them up with, obviously we provide the payment services. We link them up with different platforms that they can actually advertise their wares, some of them on our platform. We seek help with some of the fulfillment partners that, be it a nasi lemak or, nasi ayam, whatever, they can still send it to their customers. We have a payment link feature that allows them to kind of collect the money before the product is being sent, and then we arrange the fulfillment for them, right? We are doing a whole bunch of different things to ensure that they can continue to trade. So we launched this program on the 5th of October. It's a second version of a program that we started in the 31st of August. This is version 2 right now, and this one has a whole bunch of goodies worth 5,000 ringgit that's actually offered to the micro SMEs.
Fantastic.
So I think, so Roshan, I think the underlining this, what is very important, all these activities that Boost is doing is actually not about how much money can we make from them. It seems like you've gone into like a sustainability mode. Hey, we're going to make money from them eventually, but right now we got to help them survive. And I think merchants will incredibly appreciate that, and they will end up staying loyal to you also when things get better and other players come and try to offer them better deals. So I don't know, but this seems to be setting the stage for cementing the loyalty of merchants. Because normally they don't have.
No, I agree. But the question I always have, Khairil, is that there's 38 players or almost 40 e-payment, e-wallet players out here, right? How do you distinguish yourself? How do you, where do you see this going, right? Because it's huge, right? We're probably in Southeast Asia, I think we probably have the most number of players in a small, in the relative size of our market, right? Where do you see this going? Is there going to be some consolidation? Is there going to be just like how banks were, I guess, many years ago, when they, until we merged them all to these 10 banks, and then there was some scale, and there's, with scale, there's things that can happen, right? Do you see some sort of movement like that happening over the next?
It's already started. I think maybe not so much deconsolidation, but not so much consolidation, but the defragmentation of the market has already started to happen, right? I think it's no surprise that, Roshan, you said you use multiple, but I can almost guess that you're using, right? Because actually the market is starting to move towards 3 main players, right?
You guys,
right? And so and one of them, the blue company is another one, and then the green company is another one, right?
Hey,
and so
Tony Fernandez will say the red company is okay. Oh, don't say
the red company will come next week when Irene comes along.
Yeah. Because of you saying this, now we'll get the red company to come next week. Thank you, Mohd Khairil.
Yeah. Well, that's a challenge out there. I'm sure Irene will entertain your calls.
It's almost like political parties, or we'll have colors.
Yeah. So the defragmentation is starting to happen right now, and then I think what do you call it? But it's still early stage in terms of the evolution of the industry, right? But what I would think though is, given the amount of money that we've spent, that our two main other competitors have spent to build the size and scale that we are in right now, that anyone who wants to come in will probably have to overcome that very, very large hurdle, right? And I don't know whether they have the power to do that, right? Certainly, I think there's some foreign players who have the financial capacity to do so. The question is whether Malaysia is large enough a market to be attracting that kind of foreign funding to come in here and invest to sort of overcome this hurdle.
So, and you said it's a Malaysia game, but I mean, I know you mentioned before, it's going to be some sort of regional play at some point in time for you guys. What does that mean?
No, they're already Indonesia, so it is already a regional play.
Okay.
And they're doing well there.
Sorry. Who was that's doing well in Indonesia? I lost you for a second.
Oh no! I said you guys are already in Indonesia and you all are doing well there also.
Yeah. So our model in Indonesia is very different, right? And it goes back a little bit, Karamjit, to what you said before, that the market is going to bifurcate towards consumer and the merchants, right? And I think in Indonesia, our focus has been a lot more around the merchants, not so much on the consumers. I think, just like a foreign company coming into Malaysia and trying to kind of overcome that hurdle, we look at OVO in Indonesia, we look at GoPay in Indonesia, and we look at how much they've spent, and then we think it's a very unsurmountable, amount of spend that we'll have to commit to, right? And so we decided to focus on our merchant base. We have a very sizable merchant base that about 550,000 merchants in Indonesia. And we're finding different ways to, connect to even the existing wallet players, right, such that they have access to our merchant base.
Nice. Okay. And is there plans for other Southeast Asian countries, or it's Malaysia and Indonesia for now?
Correct.
I think for now in the wallet space, certainly it's just Malaysia and Indonesia. I mean, Indonesia is a big and so I think the focus is largely there for now. We do have kind of other sort of financial services type programs across different markets as well. We have I think it's been announced already that we do have a mobile financial services license in Bangladesh. The question, why Bangladesh? Because we actually, as part of the Axiata group, we have a telco there. We managed to sort of secure one many years ago. We have a digital bank presence in Sri Lanka, again, part of our portfolio of our company. So we have a presence there. And then there's the payment company that we have in Cambodia, again, tied to the telco that we have there as well.
Okay.
So I've got an interesting question, because I think, when they look at the opportunity in Southeast Asia and like you mentioned, the e-commerce players, the telco players.
What's him again?
I think
Can you hear me now?
It's God's way of saying don't talk too much, Karam, but never mind.
Okay, no. Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay. So no, because there's the dramatic packet loss. Maybe I should pay my bill to Unify now. Okay, hold on. But so you've got your e-commerce giants, right? You've got you guys, telco players, and then you've got the DBS Bank, and I'm sure Maybank will say, "Hey, Karam, why don't you mention Maybank QR code, right?" So you've got these guys. I don't think there's any one player, one of the giants, let's say Alipay, right, that will come and say, I want to acquire market share in Malaysia, from Grab and from Axiata, give them a good margin, and then they get off the space and then go to Indonesia, do the same. I don't think anybody will do that, because first of all, somebody like you all, you don't need the money also. You can probably say, no, this is already a play we're happy with. We've got a presence in 2 countries. And you are a 8-country player. The expertise from Boost is, I'm sure, being shared with the other countries you mentioned also, right? Yeah. And I think the Axiata Group doesn't want to give up this.
Oh dear.
So I actually don't. So tell me if I'm wrong. I don't see someone coming in and saying we're going to throw in money and we're going to buy everybody out at ridiculous valuations. Am I wrong or not?
Well, definitely not in Malaysia. I don't think that's going to likely to happen in Malaysia, because again, one of the things that unlike other tech verticals like e-commerce, like ride-hailing, and so on and so forth, let's not forget, right? This particular vertical is a regulated vertical. We are
very much so, yeah.
And so before Bank Negara is going to accept some big investor to come in, they need to understand the robustness of the plan. They probably don't want someone to come in, invest a lot and then flip it one day, because that actually stabilizes the industry to a certain extent, right? So I don't think it's in the interest for regulators to want to do that. So I think I don't see that happening. I could be wrong, but I actually don't see that happening.
Okay. So the main reason I'm hearing is you seem is because of a regulated place, not because that you may see value, like, because I think the individual players are big enough. DBS Bank, I don't think anyone can.
Okay, today's definitely not Karam's day.
Sorry. Okay, am I back now?
Yes, you are.
Okay. So, but I don't think like a DBS, even though it's regulated, I don't think anyone can come and entice DBS to say we're going to take over your e-wallet business, right?
Yeah.
No, I doubt it. It's unlikely to happen. Yeah.
Correct. So it will stay like these few big players, and maybe within you guys will be strong always Indonesia and Malaysia, and you don't need to sell because that gives you so many opportunities elsewhere.
Yeah.
So I find that kind of intriguing.
I think we will look for strategic partners, right? And it could be in the form of strategic equity partners, right? Just like we've sort of brought Great Eastern into the family. Right? It's not our shareholders, and through Great Eastern, they're actually helping us to co-create some very, very cool products to protect our user base, to protect our merchant base, right? So we'll continue to do that, right? So whether it's selling completely, I don't think so, because at the end of the day, this business also provides a lot of synergies to the core telco business, right? Because obviously, mobile top-ups, sort of bill payments, postpaid transactions, that's a big part of our business as well. And it's actually helping the telco find a different route to completing those payment transactions without necessarily going into the traditional retail business, which could be a little bit expensive for them.
Expensive.
Sure. And Karam, we I this piece of advice for you from Shaji, who says bro. So that's Shaji. But we need to get to some tech news in a bit. But before we get to the tech news, I just want to share another quick ad, and we'll move from there. It's on Bounce Back. So Bounce Back is this summit where it's really to raise money for NGOs all across Southeast Asia. So Southeast Asia has been badly hit with the COVID pandemic, and many NGOs are struggling to raise money. And there's a group in the US called Together We Can Change the World that is partnering with a couple of us to basically enable the best speakers like Jack Canfield and Gloria Estefan and some all these big name speakers to speak for a summit over 12, 13 weeks, so employees of companies can come attend, and all the money raised from there will be donated to these NGOs. It's about 20 to 30 NGOs across Southeast Asia. So let's just watch a quick video on Bounce Back.
Never before in history have we felt more interconnected. Everyone's actions have the power to impact the health and well-being of everyone else's actions. We truly are all in this together. And together, we can bounce back. Better, stronger, smarter. Given this incredibly difficult time, when fundraising is down and the desperate need for help is up, let's work together in helping those who need us most. Starting November 10 and 11, for 14 straight Tuesdays and Wednesdays, we will host Bounce Back, a global symposium where we will share stories of overcoming great odds to create great meaning in this world. We'll explore how champions bounced back from failure, adversity, or poverty to do great things. We'll discover how business leaders created great wealth and significance, and how you can too. These winners didn't do it at the expense of others, but with the help of their fellow brothers and sisters. They showed compassion, love, kindness, and humility as they attracted like-minded people to join their tribe. We want to highlight some of the most inspiring and influential difference makers, the men and women who've influenced this world like we've never seen before. Bounce Back, better, stronger, and smarter is brought to you by Together We Can Change the World, empowering and educating less fortunate children and women in Southeast Asia to live a better life. And Leaderonomics, a social enterprise empowering our youth and giving them the skills and tools necessary to build a better future. Yes, together we can change the world.
All right, well, welcome back, and we're going to do a quick segment, Khairil, on tech news. So, Karam, you want to shoot? You want to start by very quick the GoGet story? Are you around, Karam?
Yeah, I'm here.
He's here. You want to talk about GoGet and their 2 million Series A funding?
Yeah, so I'm going to just slightly veer off there because my monitor is over here and the webcam is up there. Yeah? So GoGet raised $2 million and significant at a time like this. And I think I was what I liked about the story also is that beyond the money is that I think one of the three co-founders, Francesca Chia, is the one a lot of people in Malaysia know. Also because her mom was a former CEO of one of the leading banks in the country. And then you've got the COO, Muaz Jema. I only found out his name recently. Yeah, so congratulations to him. And he's the financial controller. And then the other co-founder is Tan Fung Wei. So Fung Wei, well done to you. And Fung Wei is the CTO. So that aside, they've raised the money. But I think what Francesca is saying is that they want to try to create a sustainable future for gig workers. And everybody knows that the challenge gig economy workers face, right? Companies in the US, the companies trying to treat you like you're a disposable asset.
Okay.
Yeah, such an important point he's saying right now.
Especially when he said disposable asset, he's gone. Okay, so I think congratulations to GoGet for that. Let's talk about Level Up KL.
Oh no, not Level Up KL. Right. There's another thing. There's 3 conferences going on actually. Level Up KL is one, which is in the content space. It just started yesterday and it's going on for till the middle of November. So this is because it had to go virtual. So when they decided to go virtual, they had to not decided to. They went big and they said instead of doing it for 1 week or 5 days, where normally it's for like a whole month. Right, and of course you've got speakers from all over the world zooming in also, not necessarily on Zoom. So and then the other thing is you've got the My Digital Maker Fair that just finished, and that was interesting because correct. Were you all involved in that, Roshan?
Yeah, we were. Yeah.
So the fair is interesting because MDEC is trying to popularize the the maker movement, right? Yeah. So you've got it's actually physical locations where you got your 3D printers and a whole.
I think you take Chaji's advice, man. This is becoming a rather comical show, but
Okay, am I back? Because my video looks very clear here, so it's kind of strange. Okay, so where did you lose?
But there's some good conferences, and I think there's some actually. I mean, to be fair, there's some groundbreaking stuff that we've been running some virtual camps for MDEC now. We're doing for Hub Sing and YTL Foundation. In Kelantan this week we're doing in Sabah with the Hub Sing guys. So it's some exciting stuff to use technology, but to be able to bridge the gap. Because technology always that ability to touch and to be able to connect emotionally sometimes doesn't avail itself so much. But I think there's a lot of great stuff that's happening that's enabling a lot of these things. So some great stuff.
And I think the point is people are coping. My point is that people are coping and they're not letting the COVID thing to keep them down. Say, we wait next year, and that's fantastic. So that's the can-do spirit, right? And the other thing before we go to Patrick Grove is this iConstruct.
Yep. So iConstruct. I'll read aims to disrupt the stuck in a rut construction industry, and Karam should be back right now. There you go.
But the interesting thing here is that the 2 co-founders of iConstruct are 2 Malay guys, whereas the construction industry in Malaysia is totally dominated by the Chinese, right? All these gruff-looking Chinese, because it's a tough and rough industry. And I am super excited and pleased that they have said, they didn't let that stop them. They've gone in and they've created, this platform, which is a B2B platform for the construction industry players. And actually, their GMV a month is already 500,000 ringgit, Roshan. So they're heading places. So really credit to them. They didn't let the thing that, hey, we shouldn't go in this way because it's dominated by one race, right? So amazing. So I'm excited to see them succeed. Right? It's a can-do spirit. And then we'll move to Patrick Grove. Patrick Grove is always got the can-do spirit, right? So I know his branding was tarnished because he failed with succeeding with iFlix, right? That was his big unicorn play. And then, but now,
they've the Frontier Digital Ventures, right?
It's listed ASX. So what they've done is they've raised 100 million Aussie dollars from the market, and they've acquired 3 players. One is from Colombia, and 2 is maybe one from Mexico, and one is from Tunisia. No, Colombia, Tunisia, and Morocco. So, and they bought it over from a Telenor company. What a Telenor company is doing the same thing they're doing, reaching out into the frontier economies and trying to create the winners in that space, right? They're trying to create they're trying to create the boost of Morocco and all that. And interesting that Frontier Digital Venture has bought over the 3 of their companies, and they plan to cement their position in these 3 markets. Raise 100 million.
Khairil, is Frontier Digital similar to you guys in terms of?
Well, I would. I mean, again, we're not so much a digital venture unit. We're venture builders to a certain extent, but we operate. So we build it. We will start something from an incubation stage like Boost, right? We incubated it, many years ago, and then we got to a point where we felt like, okay, we can actually solve the customer's pain points and yet generate positive unit economics. And then we started scaling it up, and then we turned that into an operating business, right? So that's kind of a little bit our model.
But maybe your thoughts on what these our friends from GoGet are doing, not GoJet, but GoGet.
I mean, well, first of all, congratulations to the team there. I'm really excited that, a Malaysian company, actually, what I like is what you said at the end, right? Which is that they're actually focused on creating a sustainable future for these gig workers, right? Because we have quite a number of these different segments of customers in our financial services business. And by and large, they've been if you like, they're not the ones that a lot of the structured economy is focused on, right? So if you take the gig workers, for instance, no SOXO, no EPF, no nothing, no medical insurance. Anything happens to them, they're kind of screwed, right? And so I really encourage the likes of companies like GoGet and maybe even some of the other bigger players in the space, right, to really start taking care of those workers, right? Because they need to think about this as a sustainable future for them and their family.
And I think Wahab echoes what you say. I think COVID is accelerating this whole economy and digitization.
And when you mentioned per queso, sorry, I think GoGet is the first player in the country to offer per queso a SOXO protection, which is the Social Security Agency. Yeah, so and according to Francesca, it took them 2 years to discuss with the authorities, and they got it done. Fantastic, right? They've got insurance also. They're offering people insurance for a little RM1 a day. So whatever you say. And micro lending is coming. She's waiting for the right partner. So I mean, I can't say how highly I'm impressed with what you're doing on the community part, making sure that you're a strong partner with them. Wonderful.
Yeah. So Karam, I think Michael Warren thinks you're trying too hard. You're trying to prove a point. We need there you go.
Celcom. Where are you, Celcom? The Celcom is the nearest Celcom to my house.
Our audience, understands my pain. But I think it brings to our last topic that we wanted to talk a little bit about, Karam, today. Which is the digitization, right? The key survival skill for SMEs under in this whole environment, right? You wanna share a little bit of your thoughts on that, Karam, quickly?
No. So this the Selangor state government has got their own digital agency, right, which is called SITA. I may probably got the acronym wrong, but they actually just yesterday was the second day of their 2-day conference, Smart Cities and E-commerce, and they're focusing on SMEs, and they said the SMEs need to focus on the 3 skills, which is they got to think big, start small, and scale fast. And I think, wait a minute. It is too much of a leap for SMEs to take this startup ethos, but I think they are undeterred. The Selangor state government, this agency, is saying they have to think that way for them to succeed, or even to survive, because the situation is quite dire now, right? So I found that quite interesting that people are not letting preconceptions hold them back. Say, guys, you got to think this way.
Okay, and Khairil, your thoughts?
Well, look, I think digitization or digitalization is going to become critical for SMEs in a post-COVID world, because we fundamentally believe that the post-COVID new norm is a digital-first new norm. And whilst the large corporations, whether it's the banks, the telcos, the large retailers, have actually put a lot of efforts into accelerating their digitization programs, the vast majority of SMEs don't know where to start. The good news is that there are agencies like, MDEC is actually doing a fair bit to kind of help the SMEs. But then there are organizations like us. We also want to kind of go out there and help, right? And what we're trying to do is to kind of help them throughout the entire process of their journey, right? From the discovery of their products, transactions of their products, the payment and the financial services behind that, the fulfillment, and then also the operations that sort of needs to sit behind that as well. We're trying to help them in every way possible. I think Karam brought up something before, we lost him, around whether the new philosophy is how do we go out there and how do we kind of create sustainability with a lot of these, whether it's the gig economy, whether it's the SMEs and whatnot. And I think, maybe kind of, I know we're running out of time a little bit, so maybe if there is such a thing as a last minute message for me, right? But one of the things I'd like to say to my teams is that, 20 years from now, 30 years from now, when you're telling stories to your grandkids about what happened in 2020 and how you survived 2020, I'm hoping that my message to my grandchildren, and hopefully your messages to your grandchildren, and our messages to our grandchildren, is that we survived 2020 by helping other people survive 2020.
Wow. Fantastic.
So that's our ethos right now. We're trying to push ahead with that.
So we've got one or two quick ones. Shaji is correcting us. CITEC, bro.
No, correcting me. Sorry, thank you, Shaji.
Parties giving us a face. I don't know what that means. I'm not an emoji expert. Maybe one of you can figure that one out.
I get my 14-year-old to come analyze
but
that.
There's a quick question. I think maybe not so much the software, but what do you think are some of the technologies that will peak after this pandemic? Love to hear your thoughts on this, Khairil. Not necessarily tech software, but I think in general technologies or businesses, I think in general, that if you have a thought on that.
So I am certainly the three things that kind of we are starting to look at a little bit more than before. One of it actually, someone said something about 5G before, right? With 5G, the component around 5G is that it is high throughput, zero latency, and with high throughput, zero latency, it finally makes consumer IoT. Not just industrial IoT, not just enterprise IoT, but consumer IoT then becomes possible. And so we're now starting to look at that space again, within the banner of Axiata Digital, not necessarily within Boost, because we think it's actually a very exciting frontier that we may do something around again, right? Now, we did something very early in the Axiata Digital days, but again, back then with 4G, there were certain limitations around what we could do. With zero latency, autonomous vehicles will become a reality with zero latency, right? So that's something that we're looking at. The other two trends, obviously, kind of from a post-pandemic perspective, e-health and e-education. I think it's kind of a no-brainer that these things will sort of become very, very prevalent and become a norm in the future.
Yeah, I think you're spot on. These are necessities like education, health, and so on and so forth. Thanks a lot. And with Wahab says we need to rope in SME Corp and SME Association to help out.
They already are actually. They're doing it. Yeah.
Yeah.
But by the way,
we have a mission with SME Corp right now.
There you go.
They do have a lot of people who actually do need help.
So, Khairil, you had your say, your final nugget of wisdom.
I will say two things.
You get not to
future technologies. We already spoke about the two future technologies. One is digital payments, right? Everybody's going to go digital payments in a big way. I already use my debit card. I don't use my credit card because debit I can just do the remote touching, right? And then the other thing is you got to get stable broadband, man. Otherwise, nothing works. Okay.
Okay, and to close it out, since we have about 30 seconds, and Karam, amazing, Karam, you did it in 30 seconds. Well done. Michael Warren's, what are your thoughts on blockchain, Khairil?
The answer is yes. There's definitely something that we're cooking around blockchain right now. It is a very secure way to kind of trace transactions, and given that we're a payment company and payment at the background of it is actually sort of looking at transactions and transaction flows. Quick answer to Michael is yes. We're cooking something.
Okay, so to live in an inspired manner, Khairil, your final thoughts. Leave us inspired to want to do something to this weekend. What are your final thoughts, Khairil?
No, I think I said it already, right? This is an unprecedented time for us, right? I remember when I was growing up listening to the stories of how my grandfather survived World War II. I think we will be telling these stories for years to come. There will be history books where the chapters are not about, actually, I'm starting to think that it's not 2020. It's actually going to be a couple of these years. First and foremost, there is a pandemic. And then secondly, there's the economic crisis that's going to coming out from that, and then underlying all of this is a humanitarian crisis, right? And so what did we do as leaders throughout this period, right? And I want us all to kind of think about it and think of what we can do as leaders to sort of shape the kind of world that we want emerging from this, right? And if you think that your shareholders are stopping you from doing that, then you need to have a conversation with your shareholders about the kind of millennials that they are working for their organizations, because if they don't change, then we don't have those millennials working for us anymore.
Fantastic, man. Khairil, well said. And with that, wishing everyone a fantastic weekend. Remember, POSMECSummit.org for those of you who want to support NGOs in Southeast Asia, also to be able to learn. Go there, sign up, and get a 10-12 week program. Khairil, thanks so much for your thoughts. Karam, as always, thank you so much, Karam, for your insights and for teaching us about Unify and packets and all that.
Packet loss. No. My last word. I predict in the future our grandchildren the word packet loss will be alien to our grandkids.
All right, there you go. and with that, we've got a ton of comments coming, but Kaji says, well said, Khairil, actually. So you guys getting the name wrong here. And Michael Warren ends with a thumbs up. So with that, thank you very much. This has been Tech Talk Friday for you. We will see you next week, same time, same place. Thank you so much, Khairil. Thank you, Karam. Have a great weekend, everyone. Goodbye.
Thank you for having me. Thank you. Bye-bye. Bye.